Coming up on this episode of Courage Over Comfort by Matt Logan Speaks.
You talk about balance a few times. What about the mental balance?
I definitely believe in the powerful mental aspect of exercise. It's so, yeah, and then of course once you finish, you just feel good about yourself and you feel accomplished. And I'm also a very goal-oriented person, so I'll stick to a goal. If I tell myself I'm going to go work out, I will. So that's at least what works for me.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Courage Over Comfort. My next guest is a remarkable young lady, and I say young, I don't know what her age actually is, but I'm older than her, I promise, so she's young to me. And she actually is a communication specialist with the DMC here in Rochester, Minnesota. But she's also, what got my attention and her courage was she was crowned just recently the Miss Arnold of 2020. Did I say that right?
Miss Arnold Fitness.
Fitness, yes. I'm sorry. Oh, it's sitting right in front of me. I should just read it.
No
Erin
problem.
O'Brien, welcome.
Well, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah. Let's just dig into it. What brought you down that path?
Well, it was a very long
You're in
path.
communications.
Yeah.
I mean, that's very different than this.
Somewhat. So I've been doing pageants for, I guess, almost 10 years now. I got into pageants mainly because my big sister did. So I grew up watching her compete and always thought it looked so fun. And so I started doing pageants my senior year of high school. I held a few titles throughout the years. I competed as I was growing up. We can get into this in a little bit, but I've lived in several states over the last several years. And I've competed wherever I've lived, really as a way to meet new people and of course work on my own skills. So I've been competing in pageants. And this most recent one, it was kind of an interesting pageant. It combines your typical aspects of pageantry, like the evening gown and the interview. But this one, it was held at the Arnold Sports Festival in Columbus, Ohio, this past March. And so it also incorporated fitness aspects. So we had to run an obstacle course and we had to model athletic wear. And the interview was largely focused on health and fitness. So that it was kind of, I don't know if you would call it a pseudo pageant, but it combined pageantry and fitness. So that was this most recent pageant that I competed in and was fortunate enough to take home the crown.
So you have stacks of titles. Is that what you're saying?
Stacks, maybe one stack, maybe a few crowns over the years.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's really exciting. Why did you decide to do this particular fitness then? I mean, it sounds like it's a little different than what you were familiar with.
If you had asked me 10 years ago if I would ever even think about entering a fitness pageant, I would have just laughed because I never used to enjoy fitness. I didn't like exercising. I didn't like how it made my face all red and getting all sweaty. And
right.
I just didn't enjoy that. My diet, I didn't really know a whole lot about how to properly fuel myself. But over the years, especially through pageants, I learned, it's not about crash dieting like a month before the pageant.
Sure.
It's a whole lifestyle. In fact, when I competed in the Miss America organization, they call it the lifestyle and fitness portion, the swimsuit.
Okay.
Because it is all about how you live your life.
Sure.
And so over the years, I've kind of turned my life around in that sense. I've learned all about health and nutrition. I've learned how to properly exercise, not do that whole yo-yo dieting thing. And I fell in love with fitness. At a couple of the state pageants I competed in, at Miss Wisconsin and at Miss Minnesota, I won the swimsuit preliminary awards, which again, if you had asked me 10 years ago, I never would have thought I would be, first of all, walking on stage in a swimsuit. And then second of all...
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, and then winning an award based on that, not only on my health and fitness, but my confidence on stage. I never would have believed you if you told me that would happen. And so entering this Miss Arnold fitness pageant was kind of a celebration of all of that, of realizing how far I've come, how much I've learned. And I think that's a huge reason why I was able to take home this title is because I'm able to speak so passionately about what health and fitness mean to me.
That's pretty remarkable how you say the lifestyle. I think that's important. Like even for me, I love pizza and ice cream.
Oh, I do too. Yeah, I do too.
Right? Yeah. So that gets me into a lot of trouble. And so the lifestyle is so important, and that's really about anything that you do in life is it's like not sitting back and not being relaxed in a comfort zone. Courage over comfort, is you have to just move forward and take those steps and get out of that comfort zone. So when you got into this and you said high school, where were you living at that time?
I grew up in Columbus, Ohio.
Oh, you did? So you kind of a full circle thing there.
It was also, a very much kind of a full circle thing.
That's hard to say, Columbus. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Full circle.
Yeah. So I grew up in Columbus, Ohio. I went to college in Indiana. When I graduated, I first moved to La Crosse, Wisconsin, and now I live in Rochester. So I've been kind of all over the Midwest at this point.
So you're in the media, so saying full circle and kind of teasing about that's not something you're used to.
No, not really.
You got to be perfect.
Yeah.
This is a podcast. We don't have to be perfect. Right. We can laugh and stumble over our words. It's okay.
Yes, I can mispronounce things.
Exactly. It's not a big deal. Yeah, it's not live.
Right.
But it's recorded live. So
yes, that's all right.
Media, you a communication specialist, but you got out of being in front of the camera. You said earlier off camera here today, to be behind the camera. Explain that.
Yeah, well, right out of college, I first moved to La Crosse to become a TV reporter, and I worked in the La Crosse area for a couple of years, and met people from all walks of life, covered some really fun stories, and then I moved to Rochester, where I was the anchor for Fox 47. The News at 9 is what I anchored, and that was a really great experience too. Again, meeting just so many different people, hearing so many different stories, and being able to tell them in front of the camera, and I loved it. It was a great job. And I would go back, if I had the opportunity, if things were right. I'm certainly not leaving the news industry forever. But a really great opportunity came up to work at Destination Medical Center as a communication specialist.
That's a mouthful, too.
It is. I've gotten used to saying it, though. But it's a brand new position that they created. So I help with DMC's social media, with the media relations, content creation for the website. So it's kind of a similar job to what I was doing. I'm still getting to meet a lot of people and share their stories, but I'm also learning new skills like public relations and working with media and really sharing the story of Destination Medical Center. It's a really exciting time to be doing that in Rochester.
I agree. I totally agree with that. Do you think that what's happening right now, is that slowing that down quite a bit, or is it just kind of a pause for a moment?
Well, neither. It's not even pausing.
It's not. Okay,
DMCs,
that's great.
I mean, it's moving ahead. It's a 20-year plan, and so this is just one moment in time. And so it's been really important for DMC and the city of Rochester to keep moving forward with a lot of those initiatives.
Yeah. Pausing is so difficult in our society, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
It can be good, though, to pause, too.
Oh,
sometimes.
I agree. Yeah. I think it's good to pause, and I think that we need to understand that we should just do it on purpose rather than by force. I don't mean by force under some heavy hand. I mean by force of a virus or whatever else. But I think it's definitely taught me that. I went and sat by the campfire out back last night, and I probably wouldn't have done that 3 months ago. Well, it was wintertime 3 months ago, but you get my point.
Yeah, it's taught me a lot too. I'm a woman of routine, I like to say.
Sure.
I love having a routine, and so anytime that it just has to all of a sudden change, it's really hard on me. And so the past couple of months, it's helped me kind of learn to, not fall onto a routine every single day. So it's been kind of good for me to help grow a little bit.
Nice. You mentioned working with the media. Have you understood more of it? I've done dozens and dozens and dozens of interviews, and so I understand it from my perspective. Have you learned something new? And like, if you got back into media, what would you change?
What would I change? I guess I would change. I don't know what I would change. I think I will say in my current job, it's helped me a lot. Having been on the other side of things, I learned when I was a reporter, I learned what I looked for in interview subjects and in stories. And so now when I'm with DMC helping to share the story of Destination Medical Center, it can help me better explain things to reporters, especially in Rochester. Rochester is a city where it's a lot of reporters, maybe first or second jobs, and so they're
Sure.
more new to the market, and so I can keep that in mind and help them understand a story better. So I don't know if it's really helped me become a better reporter if I got back into that. But certainly on the flip side, being a reporter has really helped me work for DMC.
So, in what way has it helped? Like, what have you understood differently that you didn't before? Like, specifically?
I think the importance of just constant communication. When I was a reporter,
Love that.
Sometimes the most frustrating thing was reaching out to someone, hoping to interview them, and never hearing back until maybe like the last minute or like the next day when it's too late. So I've learned the importance of communicating almost to the point of over communicating. If I get a text from a reporter saying, hey, can I interview this person? I'll right away get back to them and say, yes, I saw your text. I'm not ignoring you. I'm checking on things. I'm working to help you. So I've learned to really over communicate. In fact, I don't even think that's possible to over communicate in this kind of world.
Yeah, I think that, and it's the right kind of communication and stuff. Like, I think that, so the check-ins, let me word it like that. So the check-ins, I think, are important with communication too. Like, there's people that I check in with all the time, and I don't need anything from them or probably ever. But I know that it's important because of life circumstances or whatever, just to check in. And so I think that's something that is missed in today's world too, when someone sends you a happy birthday text and you don't get a reply or whatever else. So that communication, that's good to hit on that. I like that.
Yeah, and that's something I've been trying to be better at in my personal life, having grown up in Columbus and, of course, met tons of people in college in Indiana and made a lot of connections in La Crosse. It's sometimes hard to reach out to all of those people who have made an impact on my life. And so that's something I'm trying to be better about, is still reaching out to those connections, even if I'm not seeing them every day anymore, keeping those relationships going.
Yeah, just say, hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
Right? That's so important. Because I think that, like for me on social media, I don't see much social media. A, I'm busy, and B, it's like I don't like to really scroll through it a whole lot. So people will text me, hey, did you hear about this? Well, no, if you want me to know, just text me, right? Yeah. Why do I have to check in? If you want me to know something, just send me a text.
Right. I'm kind of the opposite.
Really?
Working with social media, with
Sure.
DMC, I'm constantly on it. And so sometimes I feel like I know too much, or, someone reaches out and says, hey, did you hear about this? And I have to think, do I pretend like I haven't seen that on social media, or do I say, yes, I saw it already? So I feel like I know like everything that's going on because I'm always on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, but I enjoy it.
That makes sense, though, I guess. If that's like your job, you have to be in the know. Whereas from my perspective, I guess it's more personal, right? And if you want me to know something, you probably should just text me.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. That's just my opinion for me, but.
Yeah.
So when you say that you're not sure if you should tell them you saw it on social media, why is that? What do you mean?
Maybe it's because and this is why part of the reason why I got into news in the first place is because I love being the person to share news. Like I love being that one that's like, oh, did you hear about this? So-and-so's having a baby, or, so-and-so is getting a new job. I love sharing news with people.
Sure.
And so I want them to have that moment to be able to share that piece of news and have a fun reaction.
What do you do to retain that information then?
To retain it?
Yeah, that's a lot of information.
Oh, I don't know. I guess I've never had a problem with that. Like I'm that kind of person.
I don't either.
Like,
but
I never really have a hard time remembering people's birthdays. Like there's just random people in my life. Like, I don't know, someone in my elementary school who I just remember their birthday.
Really?
Things like that.
That's crazy.
I have a good time, an easy time remembering those things.
Really?
And maybe that's also why I got into news. It's because it's easy to keep track of those important dates.
Photographic memory?
No, not like that.
No, okay.
I don't know, just random things that I don't know if they're really that useful. Remembering random elementary school classmates' birthdays, who knows?
Are you a big reader?
I am, yeah.
Okay, that's why you remember things then,
Possibly,
I think.
yeah.
I think that I notice that when I don't read very often, it makes a big difference in what I retain, just in what I see.
Makes sense.
Yeah. I think that, like, when I'm on an airplane, I'll put subtitles on a lot of times so that keeps my brain active.
Oh, yeah.
So, the fitness thing here, talk about the course that you had to do. I mean, I'm picturing American Ninja or something.
Kind of. It wasn't
Is it
quite
really?
that intense.
Yeah, okay.
So the obstacle course, it was sponsored by Spartan. So it was a Spartan obstacle course. We had to like jump over walls and climb under walls and like jump through like holes. And I remember we had to hoist a big weight over our shoulder and run it around and drag a tire on the ground, walk on a balance beam, just a little bit of everything. And it was difficult, but I remember that day, so it was in early March. The hardest part about doing that obstacle course was how cold it was that day. It was like, I want to say maybe the low 40s, and we were out on a big dirt track where there was dirt flying around everywhere. That was the hardest part of doing the obstacle course. I generally don't work out outside, so doing that in the cold and the dirt was really difficult.
Hard on your lungs?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
And so our time on the obstacle course was factored into our score. And then the actual pageant on stage with the gowns and the onstage question and everything was the next day.
How much time do you have to prepare for something like that?
Well, as much time as you give yourself.
Okay.
I guess the whole point of it is it's not like you decide I'm starting to practice today. It's supposed to be kind of a lifestyle thing. And that's another thing that I learned through the pageants. It's not a matter of like a month before starting to work out. It's, can you make it your lifestyle? Can you work out every day and keep up a healthy diet and keep up with current events and things like that, so that if you want to enter a pageant, maybe you brush up on a few things in the weeks before, but it's a lifestyle that you prepare.
So when was this? I'm thinking 2020 obviously has been a rough year. When was the pageant then?
It was at a very interesting time. It was the first weekend of March.
It was,
yeah.
Okay.
And so in the week before, there was a lot of uncertainty about whether the entire Arnold Sports Festival would happen, including the pageant. This pageant is really just one of dozens of competitions at the Arnold Sports Festival that weekend. So there was a lot of uncertainty. In fact, in the days before, they said that it was going to be canceled, except for a select few spectators. They ended up canceling the big trade expo where a bunch of companies bring in their fitness products. We weren't sure if family and friends would be able to watch or not. Ultimately, my parents and siblings decided to stay home because they didn't know if they'd even be able to get in to watch the pageant.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah. My fiance came with me, so he was able to watch in the audience. So anyways, there was a lot of uncertainty with it. In the end, all the competitions at the Arnold Sports Festival happened. It was a much, much, much smaller crowd, and they definitely kept things clean and organized and safe for all the competitors. And they gave all of the athletes a questionnaire when they arrived about whether they had traveled to any of those affected countries or if they had been showing symptoms. So it was all handled very well. It was a lot of stress and uncertainty, like I said, but yeah, it was the first week of March, right when things were about to really change for us in the U.S.
And now, a quick break for you to think about all the things you love in life, like Skittles. I love Skittles. And now, back to the episode.
Yeah, I was in Vegas when they shut Vegas down.
Oh, that would have been crazy.
Yeah, it was wild.
Kind of scary.
Well, I don't know. Not much bothers me, but it was weird for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, have you been to Vegas?
No.
So it's packed all the time, like all the time. And there was nobody. I mean, I walked for probably 10 blocks before I saw one person.
It would have been eerie.
That is eerie. So
Yeah.
that's weird, yeah.
Yeah. So fortunately, I mean, my fiance and I had been planning to drive the whole time, so we didn't have to worry about flying and all of the restrictions that were starting to go into place there. But in the end, everything turned out fine.
How does that play into you mentally, preparing for something like this, and then all of a sudden, what's going on? We don't understand this. all these restrictions are happening, places are being shut down?
Honestly, I mean, well, it was a little stressful in the days before because I thought that it was going to be canceled.
Okay.
And so it was filled with a lot of disappointment, thinking, oh, I've mentally prepared for this for so long and physically prepared for this for so long. And I was so excited. And so I was kind of disappointed because I thought for sure it would be canceled. In the end, when they still had it, I was really grateful. But I don't think it really affected me too much beyond that. Because especially in early March, I don't think many of us really understood how big this would become. How big
for sure. That's a good point.
How much it would affect us.
Did anybody drop out because of it, not show up? Do you know? Maybe you wouldn't know that information. But
I don't know that. I mean, with the pageant, I don't know. And I imagine there were probably some competitors at the Greater Arnold Sports Festival that couldn't make it. But for the most part, it seemed like most competitions went on as planned and were successful.
Cool. What kind of people are there? Is Arnold there?
Yeah.
He was.
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah, he was there. I saw him several times throughout the weekend. I didn't get to meet him, unfortunately. So our pageant was one of the last competitions to be held over the weekend. And I think he had already left Columbus by the time that the pageant happened. But I saw him at other events throughout the weekend, and he was really fun.
Yeah.
But wow, at the Arnold Sports Festival, you see so many different kinds of people because there's so many different kinds of competitions. You have the bodybuilders, and then you have the strongman competition, and you have a lot of other really random events too. Like I walked by a foosball competition.
No way.
There's a little bit of everything for everyone. And after all the competitions, when they would crown or award the first place winner, oftentimes Arnold would come on stage and interview them. And it was really funny because he would interview, let's say, the bikini winner. And I remember he asked her, what was your training like? And she said that she ate something like 1,200 calories a day or something like that. You know, a small amount, but what you would expect from a bodybuilder, like a bikini competitor.
Sure.
And then later on in the night, after the strongman competition, he interviewed the strongman and asked, what was your routine like? And he said that he ate, something like 3,000 to 5,000 calories a day, like something crazy like that.
Oh my gosh.
It's really inspiring to see how there's so many different kinds of people out there. You can define fitness in so many different ways. It's not about how you look. It's not about necessarily what or how much you eat. Fitness means something different for everyone. And so I left, it was my first time at the Arnold, and so I left just like with my jaw dropped and eyes wide open. Like that was amazing, just seeing the skill on that stage. It was amazing.
So it sounds like you kind of want to continue to be involved?
Possibly, yeah. So
maybe even not compete, but just it sounds like you're just into it, so be involved.
Yeah, I think maybe somewhere further down the road, I'd love to try some kind of bodybuilding or bikini competition in the future. I think my pageant days might be coming to an end because I'm getting married, and so they do have pageants for married women, but not quite as many. So, but something more along the lines of fitness.
That's a restriction?
Yeah, very often. So for example, like the Miss Arnold Fitness, you could not be married because it's Miss Arnold Fitness. And the same goes for most pageants like Miss America or Miss USA.
I never even thought about that.
Never been married. Yeah.
Okay.
They do have like Mrs. America, so there are options out there for married women for sure, just not quite as many out there.
How does that make you feel?
It's
that seems weird to me.
Yeah, no, I guess it's just something I've grown up with, so it's made sense. There are options for Miss and Mrs. It's something I've really enjoyed competing in pageants. I've grown and learned so much from them, so I think this was a great way to kind of close out that journey for me and move on to the next chapter of life, being married and all that.
Yeah, when are you getting married?
Spring of 2021.
Nice. Awesome.
So, and that's another reason why I feel really fortunate around this time of year is that my fiance and I, we got engaged in 2019, but we just originally decided to have our wedding in 2021. So at the time, this time we're not having to worry about postponing it and all of that. So we're really fortunate in that sense.
Where's he from?
He's from Illinois originally. He is the reason that I came to the Upper Midwest. He's at Mayo right now, working towards his PhD. I'm wrapping that up in the next couple months. So so he's kind of what brought me to Rochester in the first place.
Cool. So it wasn't work. So that's always nice. That a lot of people come to Rochester for work, so it's
Yeah,
a different
exactly.
story.
Yes, I'm one of the trailing, they call it, trailing spouses or trailing partners, who
Okay.
follow their partner to Mayo Clinic. I'm one of those.
Sure. Is he going to try to stay at Mayo then when he's finished?
Yeah, so
Does he
he's
have-
wrapping up his degree, I believe in June, and so he'll be staying at Mayo. It's the plan so far, and so we're getting married in Rochester as well, with neither of us from here.
Yeah.
We still wanted to have our wedding here because we've both grown to love the city.
Yeah.
We really want to show it off to our friends and family, especially since he's from Illinois and I'm originally from Ohio. We have family from all over the country. We might as well just have it where we live and make everyone else travel.
Absolutely.
So we'll be staying in
And there's
Rochester.
an airport right in town
Exactly.
and everything, so that
Yeah.
makes it easy to get in and out of. A little more difficult right now, but by then it'll be back to normal, I'm sure.
I hope
What's
so.
next for you then? With are you thinking about getting into the Mrs. part of it, or is it just you're going to maintain this current lifestyle and see how it goes? Or
Well, I never want to say never, but I do think that this will probably be my last pageant, especially just because we kind of mentioned earlier how full circle this was
Yeah.
for me. When I first entered pageants, I hated the swimsuit portion. I always thought that would be what would hold me back. If I didn't win a pageant, I always thought, well, it was because I didn't look good in a swimsuit. And so for me to have won this Miss Arnold fitness pageant, and like I said, I would never believe you if you told me this would happen 10
Yeah.
years ago. It was a really great full circle experience for me. I also, when I was a freshman in high school, was diagnosed with a heart condition and got
Wow.
surgery for that. And so that's another reason why I never thought of myself as a fitness kind of person or an athlete. And so this was a really great way to wrap up my pageant career, if you want to call it that.
yeah, so now you can like help and support other people that are in pageants or want to do it and might have the same like hang-ups or whatever that you had and thinking you couldn't do it.
Exactly. Or even if it's not in a pageant, if it's just someone thinking, I will never be this, or I will never be good at this, or I'll never look good, or anything like that, it's just kind of proof that you can prove yourself wrong.
It's fun to see your excitement when you just talked about that.
Yeah,
That's
and-
really cool.
And yeah, it was kind of an emotional weekend for me at this Arnold festival. Because of that, and also because I got the heart surgery in Columbus as well. I was
Oh, wow.
competing at this. I was just like 10 minutes down the road from the hospital where I got that done. So it was a really emotional weekend for me to just think about how far I came since then.
Yeah, what did you do to stay focused then?
That helped me stay focused, I think. It just reminded me why I was there. One of the hardest parts of pageants sometimes is comparing yourself to the other girls. You show up and there's other girls who have these really beautiful gowns and they're really pretty and really nice and really smart. And so it's really hard to not compare yourself to them and to get kind of psyched out by that. And so that's how I stayed focused at this past competition, was just thinking about why I'm here, why I have a story. Now, of course, the other competitors were very worthy of the crown, and they were also great representatives and great advocates for health and fitness. But I just kept reminding myself that I had that story to share, and that was why I was there competing, is because I want to hopefully inspire at least one other girl that she can set her mind to something and become something that she's never been before.
Do you go there then competing with other people, or do you go there to compete with yourself?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
Of course, you want to win. You want to win the
Well, for
crown
sure.
and sash, and that has to do with convincing the judges that you're the best person out of all
Yeah.
of the candidates, or all of the contestants. And so you are competing with others in a sense, but you are also competing with yourself, because you always want to grow from that experience. Even if you don't win, you want to be able to think about what you could do better next time, or what you learned from that experience. And it's also important to remember that if it was a different day with a different panel of judges, they could just as easily have picked a different girl, because it is so subjective.
Is it really?
It's not a matter of,
So it's not by the numbers, so to speak. Like, in other words, you talked about, the time and different
Yeah.
things and the different
I suppose
events.
that aspect of it, the time, yes. But
Yeah.
the other aspects, like the evening gown, the judges simply
Okay.
give you a score, and that's their opinion. And same with the interview. After you have a 5 to 10 minute interview with the panel of judges, they just score you. And that's just their opinion. And you never know what kind of opinion or what they might be looking for. So that's another important thing to remember, is that at the end of the day, even if you didn't win, that's not to say if the pageant was literally tomorrow with different judges, maybe you could win that day. So that's a tough part about pageants, but part of what makes it exciting too.
That's interesting. The thing that pops into my head is from previously how you want to help other girls, women, ladies.
Yeah.
What does that look like? You really lit up when you said that you really want to help them.
Yeah. It's just, I mean, I'm sure it's hard for women to
For sure.
feel good about the way they look and the way they feel.
We definitely, I don't mean we as you and I mean we as a society. I think that's something that we're really missing out on, is where we have to, women have to be this certain level.
Yeah.
It's sad.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that
We should all, really what I'm saying is we should all strive to be as good as we can be.
exactly.
But we shouldn't expect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And I certainly, sometimes I don't like the way I look either. I look in the mirror, and of course we all can think of things that we wish were different about ourselves, but it's, I just want women
Guys
to know
think that too.
That's true also.
I mean,
yes, for sure.
we do.
Yeah. I just want women to know that they can incorporate health and fitness into their lifestyle. They can balance it with a job or volunteer efforts, and feel good about themselves. And I think once you start to really feel good, you look better too. You just exude that confidence. It's kind of a chicken and egg scenario. Do you want to look good so that you feel good? You want to feel good so that you look good? And it all just comes down to taking care of yourself. A balanced lifestyle. You can have pizza. I definitely have my fair share of pizza and ice cream, but I know that I have to have a very balanced lifestyle to feel good.
Yeah. So what are some things that you have to stay away from that's tough?
Well, I guess maybe you were asking earlier about preparation for a pageant.
Yeah.
So I suppose, in the weeks or a couple months leading up, I might try to not have as much pizza.
So when you say not as much pizza, do you have like that healthy pizza?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you have like healthy pizza? I'm not talking healthy pizza. I'm talking like, going and getting the Mr. Pizza. Well, you've probably had Mr. Pizza in Rochester here, but I'm talking like good pizza.
Oh, yeah.
But you're probably talking healthy pizza.
I like both. I like
Do
both
you?
for
Okay.
sure. Oh, yeah. But I mean, just things I have to. I don't even have to stay away from anything because it's
Sure.
not like
Yeah.
it's not like if I have 4 pieces of pizza one night that the next day I'm going to gain a bunch of weight. It's all
Right.
about just balancing it out. So that's just making sure that you're getting a variety of different kinds of food and nutrients, not excluding anything from your diet.
And now a quick break for your ears if you're watching and your eyes if you're... Wait, did I get that right? Here's some music. And now, back to the episode.
You talk about balance a few times. What about the mental balance? And what I mean is I think a lot of people go into fitness, whether they be overweight or whether they just don't feel good or not eating right, and try to maintain that balance. But I've seen people in that scenario, they think that's going to take care of a mental block, let's call it.
Yeah.
What's that balance like? I mean, can you exercise your way out of a mental block?
I think you can. Now, I'm no expert. I don't have a degree in nutrition or health or anything like that, so I can only speak to my experience. But for me, it comes down to perhaps my love for routine. As I mentioned earlier, I love having a routine. So I love waking up every day and going to go work out. And so that helps me stay focused. I look forward to that time that I have just by myself. I go to the gym and I'm amongst other people and I enjoy that atmosphere, but I'm still like in my head thinking to myself. I don't even listen to music when I work out because I just like to be lost in my own thoughts and focused on what I'm doing for my body at that moment. So I definitely believe in the powerful like mental aspect of exercise. It's so... Yeah, and then of course once you finish, you just feel good about yourself and you feel accomplished. And I'm also a very goal-oriented person, so I'll stick to a goal. If I tell myself I'm going to go work out, I will. So that's at least what works for me.
What do you do to track it?
To track it, I work out at the Rochester Athletic Club,
Sure.
and I work with the best trainer out there, Steve Boring. He's the fitness director at the Rochester Athletic Club, and so he helps me track.
Shout out Steve,
yeah,
right?
I'm giving Steve a shout out right now. So they use an app on your phone, and so
Okay.
he'll like send workouts for me to do, and I can keep track of what I did. And if he says, lift this much weight, this many reps, I'll track whether I did that, or if I couldn't quite get that, or if it was really easy, I'll leave him a note and say, hey, this was really easy, I can do more next time. So that's one way I track it. I am always wearing my Fitbit too.
Okay,
So I'm always
okay,
tracking
yeah.
my steps and that kind of non-exercise activity too. I like
Yeah.
to keep track of, especially the last couple months when I haven't been like walking around downtown and stuff. I've been stuck at home. It's kind of eye-opening how many steps you are or are not getting.
What did you get before for steps?
Before, I would often get more than like 12 to 15,000 because, well, I also like to walk and run on the treadmill.
Okay.
But then I also, of course, work downtown. So that involves parking a few blocks away
Yeah.
and walking into work and walking to meetings. And so it would not be abnormal for me to get over 15,000 steps in a day, sometimes maybe even reaching 20,000. Now when I'm at home, if I get 10,000, I'm happy because I've been trying to go for a lot of walks around my
You
home.
get 10,000?
I try to, yeah.
I mean, with the current circumstances?
Yeah, I go
so
for
you're
1 or 2
specifically
walks
going
a day.
after it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You walking a pet?
No, I'm not. Just
Okay.
by myself.
All right, yeah.
Listening to podcasts.
Yeah, perfect. There you go. Anything, you said you wanted to make an hour and we're a little under an hour, but what do you want to talk about like with this? What's been an inspiration to you over this long period of time to keep you motivated in these pageants? That really takes, you mentioned focus earlier on a workout. That takes a lot of focus.
It does. And I'm a goal-oriented person. And when I go into a pageant, of course, the goal is to win, but also what I enjoy most about the whole aspect of pageantry isn't so much the day of. In fact, I often get pretty bad stage fright.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Still?
Especially, so in some of the
What does
pageants,
that look like to you then? Stage fright?
Well, for some of the pageants, there's, of course, the talent portion. And so for the talent portion, I would play ukulele.
Sure.
And when I get nervous, my fingers shake, which is not a good thing if you're
No,
trying to
right.
like play ukulele and move your fingers really fast. So I would get really nervous for that. And so part of the reason why I especially love pageants is the whole preparation leading up to it, is having that date in your mind, having a goal to work towards and planning it all out. So that's what I love about it. And that's kind of what has always helped me stay on track. And so it's just been a really valuable experience for me to learn how to set a goal, but also to deal with, I don't want to say rejection or loss of a pageant, but if you go home without the crown, which has happened plenty of times for me as well, learning how to deal with that and think about what you still did well. So it's such a valuable learning experience.
What would you say to people that they don't put themselves out there like you have? What would you say? It sounds like to me it's really benefited you in all aspects of your life.
It has. Yeah, and like I said, I get really nervous at pageants often. And every time I'm like, oh, I'm never doing this again. It's when I'm like about to go out and play ukulele, or I'm about to go into my interview and I'm just so nervous and I think to myself, I'm never putting myself through this again. This is so much pressure and I'm so nervous. But then as soon as it's over, I'm like, oh, that wasn't that bad. I learned a lot. If you had told me 10 years ago when I was a high schooler that I would be able to talk on a podcast for an hour or stand in front of a panel of 5 judges and answer questions about current events and all that, I wouldn't have believed you, because I've always been very shy. And so, again, having this outlet to really put myself out there, to be up on stage and perform and model activewear and model swimsuits and evening gowns on stage, it's really helped myself realize what I'm capable of.
Yeah, and I think that that's a great launching pad for just about anything in life, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, including tough times and things like that. That's a great launching pad for just all of it. It's very widespread. That's good. Well, I've got some advice for you.
Okay.
For taking care of stage fright. Learn how to ride a unicycle.
Oh, wow.
And ride out on stage on a unicycle, and the crowd is just completely at ease. And they don't think you're human. So then that's the way it works. That's what I do.
I can juggle.
Can you really?
Yeah.
I can't juggle. I've never really tried, but
yeah.
I ride out on stage on a unicycle.
Oh, you do
I really
that.
do that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, well, learn to juggle next. There's my advice for you.
Right.
Yeah, fun fact. I think it was 7th or 8th grade talent show. I did a juggling act. And I juggled, balls and scarves and even those clubs I was able to juggle. I also, when I was in Columbus, I was in the Looking for Wendy pageant, which is the pageant where they look for the Wendy's fast food spokesgirl.
Wow.
And for my talent, I juggled Wendy's food.
Is that right?
So that was when I was in 7th grade. So maybe that was my first pageant ever.
Yeah, okay.
But, they give all the finalists the Wendy costume. And so you're dressed up as Wendy with the red wig and the blue dress and everything. And there's
and you
a variety
didn't bring
of
pictures?
I should have. I'll maybe pull one up on my phone to show you after this. But so for my talent, I juggled Wendy's food and I made all these puns about, tossed salad and things like that. So
I love it. I love it.
Fun fact.
See, that's what we're trying to get to is real life.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Were you nervous then in 7th grade, or did that come later?
I think it came later. And, it's interesting to think about, why wasn't I nervous in 7th grade?
Exactly. I would think that would, the reason I asked was I would think that was that moment that you discovered your nerves were just like almost unbearable.
No, and nerves are such an interesting thing. And I think the more you think about it and the more you tell yourself, don't be nervous, the more nervous you are.
Yeah.
And you would think I would be nervous standing out there as a little, 12-year-old dressed as Wendy, trying to juggle Wendy's food in front of people. But I don't remember being nervous. And I don't think I even dropped anything that day. But if you had me juggle right now, I would probably be very nervous and I'd probably drop something.
Sure.
Nerves are definitely an interesting thing to learn to deal with.
Do you still practice juggling then?
Practice? No. I suppose if I'm, if let's say there's a bowl of oranges and there's a few oranges there, I might juggle. But I was just thinking about this the other day. I haven't juggled. I had, those real clubs and I don't know where they are. I haven't done that in such a long time. I'd love to see if I can
must
still
be
do
like
that.
riding a bike then, huh? If you can just do that.
I think so. Yeah, maybe a little extra practice, but it's good party skill.
For sure. Yeah. What's the trick? Tell us the trick. Like, how do you learn? I should learn. I really should learn. It would be fun. I'm very coordinated, obviously. I ride a unicycle and balance and coordination.
I'm sure you could.
That's
it's just a matter of just starting off with one and practicing, especially like with the clubs, practicing how to throw it just right so it makes the complete 360,
sure.
and then switch to 2 and do that. And I remember that learning. Standing over the couch so that if they dropped, they wouldn't go everywhere.
Yeah, like I'll be working on stuff with a hammer or a screwdriver or something, and I'll be walking to get something else, and I'll toss it. I played basketball, so I would, like the tools, I would just toss around my back. Still do it today. I just toss around my back up over my shoulder and catch them and stuff. So I must be able to juggle then.
Oh yeah. For sure.
I should just practice.
Yeah.
One at a time, huh?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. On your unicycle too. I'd love
Boy,
to see
that would be tough. Master one thing at a time.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Maybe someday in retirement, right?
Yeah.
I have a really cheesy thank you for you.
Okay.
Thank you for being shiny.
Oh.
Thank you for being strong. Thank you for being hope. Thank you for being influential. Thank you for being necessary. And thank you for being you.
Thank you. Yeah, if I can just leave with one message,
Please.
If there's something that you think to yourself, I'll never do that, I'll never be that kind of person, that's not true. You can be anything. You can start to make any change, even if it's just a small step forward. I certainly didn't start lifting weights every single day and running miles every day. It's just about taking those baby steps and working towards it. If you want to be something, you can be that.
That's great. That's a perfect way to end. Thanks a lot, Erin, for being here.
Thank you.
We'll see you all next time.